we don't maintain good performance in this month, next month and December, then we are in for a torrid time.
British policing is under pressure like never before. Forces up and down the country must cope with new types of crime, ever-changing targets, and the biggest cuts to their budgets in modern times.
We're having vastly diminished resources. We're losing staff hand over foot. We've got much less money than we had to play with 2 years ago.
There's very much a feeling back at district that they've just run out of staff, and you're going to have a situation where you've got literally nobody on.
South Yorkshire Police has more problems than most. It must rebuild a reputation that's been tainted for 25 years by the tragedy of Hillsborough. It must improve its figures for key crimes that have put it near the bottom of government league tables.
We are one of the worst performing forces in the country. That's not something that I think is acceptable.
I'll walk up. How far is it? Nick?
The pressure is on to improve its reputation, to reduce crime, and to do it all with a lot less money.
You're under arrest on suspicion of child abduction. Where is the girl?
We are doing more for less, so we're trying our best, but there comes a break point, doesn't there? And that's not just rhetoric from a DCI who's got a vested interest. It's the truth.
This is what I was talking about before.
In South Yorkshire, crime is falling, but the force still has some of the highest rates of property crime in Britain. The people of Sheffield, Rotherham, Doncaster and Barnsley are more likely to be burgled or have their cars broken into than almost anyone else in the country.
So you've not heard anything, you just came down and come across it?
Well, and the kitchen light was on, and
Okay.
I shouted at my husband, and I said, why is the kitchen light on? And then I realised that we have locks on every window, even upstairs, because I am very afraid.
Yeah.
So we always make sure that everywhere is locked, and it seems to be getting worse. But burglaries in the neighbourhood.
And I don't want you to be living in fear, and because you should feel safe in your home. Do you know what I mean? Hello there, it's the police from Ecclesfield. It's nothing to worry about. I'm with your mum at the moment. Someone's tried to break into a house and smashed a window in the kitchen, and she just wanted me to give you a call because she's quite upset.
Why do people have to do this?
Because they don't understand the impact that it has on the people that they do it to, that's why.
We don't do anything worth stealing, but
These people that do it don't think about the consequences that it has.
Within South Yorkshire, East Sheffield, an area of large housing estates and high unemployment, has the most crime of all. In the last 3 years, policing this area has become even harder, as government cuts of £33 million have begun to bite. Detective Chief Inspector Bob Chapman is the head of CID for East Sheffield.
Every morning at Sheffield East, we're up against it. We're up against it for staff. We're up against it for resources. We have really quite serious jobs. Homicide, shooting incidents, robberies, armed robberies. We have the whole spectrum of serious crime. But we also have in Sheffield East a challenging set of communities, if you like, in relation to burglaries and car crime that occurs in some of those communities.
Every morning, senior officers from across the force meet to discuss the latest crime figures. They have daily targets to meet for all types of crime. Of particular concern for Bob is the high crime rate in an area of East Sheffield, known by its code name KA.
All noted, Sheffield, Bob?
Last week we were 7 over on dwelling, 15 over on theft from motor vehicle and 10 over from theft of motor vehicle. Our main theme problem is car crime, and it all centres around KA, which is Parson Cross, Shire Green, Fir Vale.
Which is the same area that you've got the shootings issue. So in terms of priorities across the force and resources, then clearly there's a threat there at the moment.
Yes, there is
some support.
Yeah. KA at the moment is always glowing red in the morning, and we're working hard to try and solve those car crime burglary problems. I look at this every day, every single day. This is the weekly performance for last week. This shows you the crime levels throughout the city. So KA, KB, KC, KD, which is on the other side, which is west. Well, the majority of the problems, look, red and amber are in KA. The expected levels of theft from motor vehicle on east is 11 offences for the week. We've had 11 in KA alone.
Tonight at 10, a sharp fall in recorded crime in England and Wales despite fewer police. David Cameron praises forces for doing more with less when police numbers are at their lowest for a decade.
I think we should congratulate the police. As a government, we've asked them to do more, but with less resources.
But the news comes on the day the police watchdog is warning that 5 police forces will struggle to cope with future budget cuts.
The government watchdog that inspects police forces, known as HMIC, has just produced a report on the performance of all 43 forces in England and Wales. Just 5 forces have failed the inspection. South Yorkshire is one of them.
Police with a warrant!
The total number of crimes may be falling here too, but by a lot less than in most other forces. The HMIC inspectors have been particularly critical of the high rates of car crime and burglary in South Yorkshire.
Recent discussions with HMIC have taken place, and I think we would acknowledge that certainly in terms of some of our volume crimes, particularly around vehicle crime and burglary, our performance needs to improve. We are outliers. Christine.
We've been having around 53 crimes a day for burglary dwelling. We're looking to achieve around 38 per day. The forecast, as you can see, showing an increase. For vehicle offences, South Yorkshire Police have seen increases of just over 2%. Nationally, we're seeing decreases of around 4%. We need to be seeing a 10% reduction.
Okay. In terms of the number of burglaries and theft from motor vehicle, we are one of the worst performing forces in the country. I get the arguments that there are a whole lot of factors around this, around the communities that we serve, the number of vehicles, the type of housing, whether housing's modern and more difficult to break into, or whether it's an older terraced housing that's easier to break into, the deprivation in some of our communities. All those things play a factor. I get all that, but nevertheless my argument would be that I want to, for the sake of our communities, move our performance away from where it currently is to a far better place.
Andy Holt has just 3 months to turn things around. He must bring down crime rates to those achieved by other forces, or risk an intervention by the government inspectors.
When I look round the talent and the seniority sat around this table, clearly if we decide something's going to happen in South Yorkshire Police, then it's going to happen. So we've got, the power rests amongst all of us here. If we make a decision that we're going to do something, then, quite clearly it will happen.
be down to the officers on the ground to deliver improved figures.
Although we are reducing crime, I think what they are saying is we're not reducing crime fast enough. And they want to see some changes. They want to see a drastic decrease in crime to match forces that they deem to be similar to us. And the bottom line is basically, if we do not achieve what they're asking us to achieve, there is a good chance that they will come into the force and basically dictate what it is we have to do in order to achieve it, and they may well take some control away from the force. We have got till, I think, the middle of November to sort it.
Bob's first move is to set up a new operation in his most troublesome patch, KA.
We're all here this morning to discuss an Operation KA-SNA, which is an operation which has been drawn up in response to the quite serious problems KA are having and have had for the last few months. And we've got to make this work. We've got to have and certainly demonstrate that we can make a significant dent into what's occurring up at KA. And that is based on the fact that we're having vastly diminished resources, as you know. We're losing staff hand over foot. We've got much less money than we had to play with 2 years ago, and that brings its own set of problems. So I guess I'm asking for a lot.
The day-to-day running of the operation will be led by Detective Inspector Martin Tate, the head of the Performance Crime Team, which looks after burglary and car crime.
But what strikes me when I come out with these guys is really how big these housing estates are in Sheffield. And when you look at all these houses, there's hundreds and thousands and tens of thousands of houses that we're policing and we're trying to drive down burglary. And our target is 6 burglaries a day for the half of Sheffield we've got. And that factors in attempts. So if one guy goes down the street and he tries to break into a house and he's seen, or there's some damage to the window, quite rightly it's down as an attempt break. He might then go 3 doors out. It might take him 3 times to get into that house. But all those go down. And that really is our target of 6 burglaries a day. And to achieve it and to be under, when you look at these massive housing estates, it's a big ask.
To bring their figures down, the team must prevent the crimes from happening in the first place.
What's your address, mate?
Hello, it's police. Could you let us in the bottom door, please?
Is he upstairs?
Their main strategy is to call on a small number of known criminals to warn them off reoffending, or to arrest them if they've grounds for doing so.
If you are on top of your game and you know the minority of your prolific offenders and you are on top of them and you know where they are, when they've been released, what conditions they've got, you're enforcing that through the offender management side of things, you know, that's the key to this game. If you have no idea who's committing crime in what area, then that's when you're gonna walk in, and you're gonna walk into figures that are going to be through the roof.
The reason that we're here is because anybody who comes out on a curfew, my job is to make sure that they're behaving themselves. Are you okay with that? I'm the burglary sergeant and I hate people who burgle. You've got form for burglaries and my Eurolock jobs are going through the roof. Now if you're committing that sort of crime, I'll do my absolutely best to send you back to prison. That's why I'm here. We've recovered that 50-inch TV. We've recovered from the kitchen cupboard a Breitling and a Mont Blanc. These are expensive watches, mate. They're about £5 each. Just lock him up on suspicion of a burglary.
The team makes several arrests, but it's getting harder to run large-scale operations like this.
Policing 2 or 3 years ago, I had a lot more staff.
I had a lot more vehicles than I've got at the moment, and at this time of year, I had a lot more money to spend. Instead of having 3 double crewed cars, I'd have 5 or 6 double crewed cars. So we're trying to do a job as it is at the moment with less staff. You get to a stage where, yeah, if we continue to reduce the numbers, the vehicles, and expect staff to do more, police officers to do more, then yes, of course there's going to be a breaking point.
Bob Chapman must now show his Deputy Chief Constable, Andy Holt, that his new operation is working, that his teams are getting their crime figures down.
I want to just talk through where we're at in terms of your performance around car crime and burglary.
In terms of what we're doing in the east, our problem has been K8, which has been the northeast of Sheffield. We actually are still running an operation called Operation K8 S&A. It's been quite successful in arresting the crime rate. We've had 56 prisoners in 3 weeks. Everybody working extremely hard. I think it's fair to say so, and I think we've demonstrated that we are actually trying to throw the kitchen sink at it. Everybody's on message, everybody's got a plan.
Yeah.
We will try our best, absolute best, and you know.
I don't doubt for a minute that everybody is working incredibly hard. People are putting in ridiculous hours. People are really, really going for it. But not to put too fine a point on it, we stand or fall in terms of burglary as a force in Sheffield. And, you know, if we don't maintain good performance in this month, next month and December, then, you know, we are in for a torrid time.
In East Sheffield, the all-important burglary figures are being hit by a very specific crime: the theft of boilers from empty council houses. It may not seem like a serious crime, but as it's happening several times a week, the performance team must put a stop to it if they're to meet their targets. They discuss an operation to trap the burglars.
The issue that we've got is the boiler jobs are still getting done, and the last one was a couple of days ago. Operation KIF is in relation to looking at a sting stroke capture house at in the Winkerbank area.
Can I just ask you about the resourcing of it?
Yes.
We are having burglaries where boilers are going, but we've got to be happy that putting cops in for 2 days, merits what we're going to achieve. So I think we just need to be happy that we're putting cops in for the right reason, because we didn't anticipate last time that somebody had the boiler in and out in 2.5 minutes.
Yeah. We might just need to have a think then about possibly a couple more extra staff from somewhere, whether that's going to have to be
So
MPG.
how many have you got then? How many?
I think what we're looking at is we've got 6.
In an ideal world, we will be looking at 8 staff to work on that tomorrow.
You're talking about putting quite a lot of cops in it. I think 2 days is probably enough, see if it happens, and then we'll review it, review the intelligence.
Undercover officers are deployed to an empty flat near where the burglaries have been taking place, in the hope that the burglars turn up.
Yeah, all in order now. We're on position.
I think we've got 8 police officers on this tonight, and I think it's justified when you look at what potentially we can achieve. Taking 1 or 2 burglars off the streets, then that'll have a major knock-on effect in terms of the figures.
2 miles of walk past property down in Jennell, round back. Just
to see if they come around.
Both of them? Yeah, they're okay, see. Yeah. Oscar 1 looks me into your back out for Jenna. If there's any further movement at the front, let you know.
Been here 3 hours now, not much has been happening, to tell you the truth. We've just been getting us updates. Oscar 1 has passed a few messages when people have walked down road or down Jennell, but I think they've just been passers-by, not too dodgy. Nobody's looked through windows or out like that, so again, just got to sit tight.
We've spent most of the shift in the Sting flat, and there's been no activity. You need now with the luck with any operation like that. So tonight we've just not had that.
Andy Holt is meeting with the officer responsible for performance to assess the latest figures. As with crime overall, the levels of car crime and burglary are down on last year. But the forces the inspectors will compare South Yorkshire with, known as their MSG or most similar group, are reducing their crime figures by a lot more.
I don't know how much you want me to talk about the MSG, because it's not brilliant, to be honest. The MSG position around these issues and the national positions as well. All crime was stayed the same, but if you look at burglary dwelling, in terms of, well, we've actually degraded and gone above the upper limit on the later period. But obviously, you know, it's
and this is obviously because the MSG average is going down. Yeah.
Yes, we are still reducing. You know, we're picking up the pace of reductions compared with ourselves, but I'm sure HMIC don't want to hear that.
No, I'm
again.
sure they don't. But,
The pressure on Andy Holt to deliver comes not just from the inspectorate. These days, the police must answer to elected police and crime commissioners who face elections every 4 years. With the force performing so badly, the reputation of South Yorkshire's Commissioner Sean Wright is on the line.
I am well sighted and up to speed now with some of the strategies around tackling volume crime, but I'd very much like to see specific strategies around the two areas of volume crime that are really driving, which is obviously vehicle theft, vehicle crime and burglary. I've got a huge concern, having not least seen the statistics around where we fare in relation to the national figures, but also more recently with the new MSG. And when you compare ourselves within the new MSG, we're either 7th or 8th in every crime type, or indeed last in every crime type other than violent crime. Yeah. So overall, you know, a mixed picture. You know, statistics can say lots of different things, but the picture's not looking particularly great at this point in time. Not least when you glance at the table and see so many reds.
It is my hope that that with the crime initiatives that we've launched in each district, that what we intend to do is, for the very least, is not suffer the crime spike that we had in autumn last year. I think what we will see is a trend of us moving in the right direction. Trust me, I'm not just relying on that spike wholly, but it's certainly going to play, I think, an important part in persuading HMIC that we're on with this.
It's now increasingly likely the force will fail to meet the reductions the government inspectors have demanded. In the past, they could have spent more money and deployed more officers. But with £42 million in cuts to deliver, that's just not an option.
Right, First one, local performance update. Sorry.
Andy Holt gambles on a new strategy. He will push his officers to work even harder by doubling the crime reduction targets they must now meet.
I would be the first to accept that the targets are really stretching. But what I wanted to do, and we had the discussion, was to demonstrate that, we had ambition, that it could be levelled at us that, the targets that we previously had, it demonstrated a paucity of ambition that was just not where we wanted to be in terms of a step change in our performance. So I accept that the new targets are challenging in the extreme, but at least everybody should, I'll come back to that later, everybody should know, what we're trying to achieve and why we have changed the targets.
The changes Andy has made are dramatic. Instead of reducing car crime by 12%, officers now have a target of 24%. For burglary, the figure has gone from a 5% reduction to 31%.
We've listened to the concerns of Magistrates inspectors, we've listened to the concerns of the Police and Crime Commissioner, and the change of the targets, I think, is a visible demonstration of our ambition and the fact that we recognise the scale of the task before us.
Nobody is making light of the scale of the challenge around the table, but, I mean, if I just pick on a couple of the updates, Sean, you've had in Sheffield quite a good week or two, and if that was sustained, then some of these sorts of figures are perfectly achievable. So, before anybody dismisses any of the targets as, no, we can't do that, actually, it is doable, but it means that everybody has to have the ducks in a row.
Bob Chapman passes on the new targets to his team.
The new targets, we've got to make a 31% reduction in burglary dwelling between now and the 1st of April. And that's why they've readjusted it, because if we make that 31% reduction, then we'll have met the target that they've set for us. Right?
So where it says target removed, it's
that's right, and they've replaced it, yeah. It's the same with vehicle crime, and it's the same with all crime, overall crime.
Right.
It is coming down to us because you've got a lot of worried people above us. It has put pressure on everyone, and I think everyone's a bit more on edge and not as, I'd like to say, probably happy in their job as they were, because people just feel pressured, and we just think we're just trying to do our job, but it feels like sometimes the people above us have got unrealistic demands, and it's us on the front line who have to reduce it by working hard. And I just think, well, how can we do more than what we're doing? There's only so many hours in a day, and there's only so many hours you work. I'm not going to work for free, and I'm not going to work 24 hours every single day. So I just think, well, if we're trying our hardest now, where's this other percent going to come from?
There's no doubt about it, the force is sending out a very strong message to us in a performance world that they want an improvement in performance. My sector target has been brought down from 6 burglaries a day to 4 burglaries a day, and that's for the east side of Sheffield. Does that affect the way that I'm working by having that change in target? I'm not sure it does, because we have a relentless drive on burglary, we have a relentless drive on robbery. I can't affect the target in that people will go out and commit crime.
With the new targets in place, Martin's team must now deliver a 25% cut in car crime. But right now, car crime in East Sheffield is actually going up, and it's largely down to one man, called Dominic.
You'll no doubt have been aware of the intelligence around. The intelligence is very good, actually. It's quite specific that he goes out from his father's address. He looks at vulnerable vehicles, open, unlocked, things on display.
Yeah, we need to take him out of the equation, really, don't we?
And we'll just see if there's anything a little bit outside the box we can do around maybe following him, or just resource intensive, that's all. So we'll have a look at it and see what we can do.
Dominic has no fixed address and is always elusive. Several teams of officers are sent out across the city to look for him.
The key to performance crime is the relentless nature by which you go after it, in reducing it, in arresting the main offenders. But in order to be a success at it and to keep a lid on it, if you like, you have to be relentless and never stop. And that's a challenge for a lot of people, including myself, really, because, you know, sometimes it just feels like you're on a hamster wheel that you can't get off, really.
It takes 2 days of searching before the team finally find him.
Dominic, come and open the door.
All right, please. Is Dominic in?
Hi, Dominic. Can I have a word with you, mate, please?
Yeah, go on.
Just go inside, mate. Is there anything in this house, this room, that's not yours?
Yeah.
Yeah? What items?
I've got a sat-nav passed me to save, like.
To save?
Yeah.
What do you mean by save?
He just wanted me to hold it for him, like, until he come back from work.
Hold it for you? Who's that, then?
My mate, Jonathan.
Jonathan who? We need a bit more than Jonathan, mate, don't we? I understand what you said to me, you're looking after it for somebody, but I don't know that, do you? I know your previous history. All right, so you're arrested on suspicion of theft of that sat-nav.
Yeah.
OK, we'll take the station, get your side of it, see if it's stolen, and you can tell us who it belongs to and stuff, can't you?
Yeah.
Right, come here.
Dominic is found guilty of the theft of the sat-nav, but he's soon back on the streets.
His sentence was a 12-month conditional discharge, and with victim surcharge costs and stuff like that, a penalty £75. And unfortunately, he was then out of court and he's back out and about. The unfortunate thing is that maybe on a Friday we arrest someone, put them in front of the court, and by the next Monday they are back out, causing the same issues, because if they are stealing to fund a drug habit or another lifestyle, they will keep committing.
A week later, there's another spike in car thefts, and once again, Dominic is the main suspect.
Dominic was obviously out and about. He's currently wanted for a theft from a motor vehicle. As you know, he's one of our district most prolific. Last time we dealt with him in here, charged him, remanded him, and he knows the system inside out. He went to court, put his hand up, and he got a slap on his wrist, didn't he? Walk out with no conditions, so we've got no control over him again.
Yet again, the team must go and find him.
It's my first involvement in this, but we've obviously come on a couple of hours earlier than we would normally do, for obvious reasons, to try and get him before he wakes. The area particularly is suffering from an increase in vehicle crime, and this lad's, we believe, certainly responsible. I don't know whether you can make that out, but there's an electric supply, there's a portable heater. The intelligence was that he was flitting between the house and the shed, but because of his nocturnal habits, it was more conducive to staying in the shed, but it doesn't look like he's in. Has he been stopping here? No. Right, we're out of here then, we could be back. We can't say we can't be back, because if we get more information he's here again, we will be back, so...
All right, let's go back and regroup.
He may well surface as a result of calling there this morning. This young man were chasing forever, it seems. It is a lot of time and effort. This morning certainly was, one might say, a waste of time. And there might be more wastes of time before we finally arrest him. It will appear, you know, on figures every morning. People will question every morning what's happening with it, what's happening with him, which obviously keeps the pressure on to arrest him. And usually at some point we do get lucky.
The force's senior command team are meeting to discuss the new tougher targets. Head of HR, Ian Watson, is responsible for the welfare of officers and has been getting feedback from staff.
The targets last week were changed. That's to meet the requirements to make sure that we are seen at least to be working aspirationally, which we are, towards the target set by HMRC to get off their radar. So the target for total crime was down 8%, it's now down 10%.
Right. Is that doable?
I think it's extremely difficult and very challenging, but we need to be aspirational. And HMRC are coming back to see us on the 25th or 26th of November, and we need to be in a position where we are seen to be trying the best we can to achieve those targets to remain off the radar.
Yeah. I mean, I agree completely with that, but it just seems an unrealistic target that we're never going to achieve. That's yeah. I'm sorry to throw that in, but that's
I think that's the discussions that. Well, I know that's the discussions that we've had as a force ourselves last week.
It feels to me just having that across-the-board target. Certainly, the feedback I'm getting in terms of the staff on the ground is that they feel it's completely unrealistic.
In order to meet the HMIC, you know, sort of demands on us, that is the force target.
The target that's been set is to achieve what we need to achieve to come off the radar.
I think the point is we have to give it our best
Oh,
shot.
I agree with that, but that is, and I think that people feel that it's a very unrealistic target. By the 1st of April next year to reduce by 10%, if we're being honest, it is an unrealistic target.
I absolutely agree with you in that, you know, really challenging, you know, bordering on unrealistic targets, but you know, that's the message that they're giving us. HMIC, you know, saying the targets you've set yourself, you know, are not stretching enough because they, you know, even if you achieve those targets, they're not going to get you to a place where we think you should be.
Whether we like it or not, we are where we are. Yeah. And those are the targets that we need to achieve if we are going to come off the radar and the intervention that's looming ahead. So those are the targets that we have to achieve.
This is a direct quote. I and the people of South Yorkshire are entitled to expect better. Those are the words of Police and Crime Commissioner Sean Wright. The South Yorkshire ranks in the top 5 worst performing forces nationally in terms of overall crime per 1,000 population. The PCC says, I want to see improvements and I want to see them fast.
With pressure on the force mounting, Police and Crime Commissioner Sean Wright issues a stinging attack on his own officers. Calling the force's performance unacceptable, he tells them he is entitled to expect better and they should step up to the mark, do more and do it faster.
But I just don't think that enough speed has been made. We're falling further behind. We're not actually closing the gap. And I just believe, as the Police Commissioner for South Yorkshire, that the public of South Yorkshire should expect and deserve the very best that we can give them. If we don't do it at a local level, then obviously the government and HMIC will have something to say about it. And I'm very keen that we do this.
You know, personally, it's quite bruising when your Police and Crime Commissioner makes comments like that. Professionally, we know we have to listen to what is being said and respond to that. There's been quite a lot of fallout in terms of how our staff have reacted and how they feel about it. The feedback that we've we've had is that officers felt that they were being criticised for not working hard, for not doing a good job, and I think that they felt very bruised by that, and they felt that the Police and Crime Commissioner wasn't giving them credit for the work that they were doing.
I think, I'm not going to get political, but I think certain people need to realise just exactly what the reality is. A large part of my job at the moment is to keep morale going, and that for me is a significant challenge, because we're almost caught in a perfect storm. You've got police officers who are having the pensions cut, told they're going to have to work a lot longer, constantly told by the government and the media that they're no good, and then they're expected to double the targets. Well, they're trying extremely hard to do that, and they will never stop, but it's really, really hard.
Delivering those targets has just become more difficult. Overnight, a new job has come in.
Basically, it appears like we had a group of youths walking down Lyminster Road last night, intent on damaging anything that came into the path. I'm told there is upwards of 20 vehicles that have been damaged. Windows smashed, wing mirrors smashed off. It would appear that a resident, quite rightly, decided that they weren't happy with this and decided to follow them in their Mercedes CLK. The youths obviously realised they were being followed. They managed to stop the car. The male complainant got out. He was assaulted. His wife was dragged out of the car, and they stole the Mercedes, the silver Mercedes, from the couple and drove away in it. We have got further inquiries continuing, and my team have been given the job of taking that and investigating that this morning.
Do we know, are we classing that as one crime?
No, if it's one victim per car, then it's 20.
This is going to have a major impact. We quickly need to get to the bottom of what's behind this, because we can't afford to have any more nights with that level of crime. We need to get them in custody as quickly as possible.
Have you got any capacity to give us house to house? Have you got people on afternoons?
If they were doing house to house, they wouldn't be able to do the reassurance.
Right.
There isn't enough of them to do.
I'm just wondering whether that might be a bid to force.
This is, for me, the top priority. The people in that area, that number of vehicles damaged, and somebody's been beaten and car stolen following it. There will be significant expectation on us, and I'd like us to deliver on that.
We're faced with what we're faced with. We can put in all the patrol plans, all the visibility plans, all the crime operations together that you like, but we cannot legislate for somebody going berserk one night and seemingly committing all those offences in one 10-minute period. That's the way it goes. You have to live with the rough and the smooth. And at the moment, we're going through a bit of rough, certainly over the past few months. So.
Do you want to listen to that call?
Detective Constable Liz Claridge will lead the investigation to find the culprits.
Beef emergency. Hello, I'm on Lyminster Road, Sheffield. There's a group of boys and they're smashing the cars up. And they've hit my husband. They're attacking my husband.
One of the males that name has been given is currently wanted for a serious assault anyway. In fact, 2 serious assaults. So he's currently circulated so he can be arrested for them. I think there's a group of them, but perhaps not all of them have caused the damage. But those people have gone up there, caused damage to 11 plus vehicles. Each one of them is a separate crime report, which obviously affects statistics of how severe crime is. But it's one person doing it to all those vehicles. And then with a serious assault, that will need to be crimed as well. So your crime statistics for the weekend have just gone through the roof, but it's all the result of one person doing it.
search for the perpetrators is resource intensive. Statements must be taken, forensics done, victims interviewed, and suspects hunted down.
Is he boyfriend of?
I don't know. I don't know until I speak to her. I don't know.
Okay. Do you have a telephone number or anything that we can speak to her on?
No, I'll have to speak to her.
Okay.
Oh, she's not in.
Come here, whoa, hang on a minute.
What are you doing? Have you got a warrant for doing that?
Hang on a minute, hang on.
No,
No.
you got a warrant.
We've got information. Right, we've got information.
Got kids in here, get out.
Right. We've got a power of entry. We don't have
Show
to
me your
use.
warrant then.
No.
We have a power of entry. Section
Show me your
17
warrant.
of PACE. We can come in if we want to come in.
No, get away.
It's a serious incident that we're looking at.
He doesn't live here.
Okay, but we believe
He's
that
barred
he
from
is.
my house.
Okay.
Give me your card and I'll get her to contact you.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
With the suspects of the assault still at large, yet another job comes in that will stretch the resources of Bob's team even further.
A takeaway pizza driver found stabbed to death at the wheel of his car was making his final delivery before starting a new job.
This is the place that Favisha came to deliver his final pizza, but he never even made it out of the car before he was killed.
Just going to have a quick listen to this guy. I'm just going to keep it. A murder investigation has been launched last night. It's a Cat-A murder. The MITs are going to be running it from Robert Dyson House, however, and they will need staff from us, and we'll have to get those staff from across Sheffield. All right, that's as it stands at the moment. If things develop, then obviously I might need to review that in relation to staff, but that's where we are. All right. As you can probably gather, I'm extremely tight because I've been on all night, but there's no sympathy, is there?
Murders are investigated by the Major Incident Team, the MIT, but they are also short of officers, so Bob will have to give up some of his team to help out.
The staff implications are that because it's a Sheffield East job, the MIT will be coming to loan some staff from Sheffield East. Murder, serious incidents, threats to people's lives will always come first. But you cannot lose sight of the fact that we have these targets to meet, and we are duty bound to meet them. And it's about juggling staff and juggling resources, and trying to achieve everything really.
On days like today, can you do it without these targets?
Could I do without targets? Of course, I could do without targets. But targets are here to stay, aren't they?
The search for the youths who assaulted a man and damaged 20 cars is picked up by Detective Inspector Martin Tate.
There's a job I want to go through for the weekend that's quite annoyed me, actually. Being dragged out your own car and given life-changing injuries isn't very good behaviour, and we're not going to have it, basically. So we need to have them all in today, or as many as possible.
We've got a list of addresses, names, and now that we know what numbers we've got, we'll split up into teams and let's go and make it happen as we do.
So I want them to have an unpleasant day today. There's no knocking on doors and walking away. If we think they're in that house, the door comes off and we go and get them.
The team have the names of several members of a gang they want to question.
And you've lived here, what, since August this year or last year?
Last year, just over a year.
Cheers. Do you know where he is, mate? We need to speak to him about a serious incident on Friday night. It's a really nice couple that are the victims here that have done fuck all wrong. Where does his girlfriend live? Morning, mate. Police from Ecclesfield. Not to worry about. Yeah, is she? More importantly, is she? Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Right.
I'm not sure.
Right, you. Peace all from Ecclesfield. You're under arrest, all right, for two Section 18 woundings and numerous criminal damages. All right. Your arrest is necessary for a prompt and effective investigation.
Today we've had 3 arrested, 2 from yesterday. So we've got 5 prisoners, and currently we have about 3 members of staff to work on it. We have 2 more coming in this afternoon, but obviously there's at this stage more suspects than there is officers working on the case. So it's difficult at the moment, yeah.
East Sheffield performance team are going out once again to look for known suspects. They're joined by other units in a final effort to bring the figures down before the HMIC deadline.
We've asked for everybody in the department to come out for one day, and basically we know the activity on the estates. There's loads of drugs, there's loads of stolen vehicles, there's loads of stolen property. There's all the usual targets. Proactive have generated some warrants, so there's loads and loads of stuff to go out in KA. It's a massive area, and we're just going to put as many resources as we can. So there's plenty of opportunity to send a message out as well, and that's what we're trying to achieve.
What I'd like to see today is, I know we're going to go out there and we're going to make it happen. What I don't want to see is people sat back in the office while others are out grafting. I know that's not going to happen, but I want to make sure that that message gets across. We're going out as a team. We're going into a particular area, and we're going to do what we do best, going out there and stopping and searching these people. And let's get out there and do it.
Probably realistically the last opportunity to make a difference that's going to be felt in time for the HMIC revisit.
DI8, any marked vehicle Spittal Hill, please? Stop a vehicle that's trying to avoid us. It's failed to stop for officers yesterday in high burglary area.
Now the burglar from 660, I've just seen him walking down Whiteways. He'll be heading down towards Page Hall, mate.
The sooner that we search you guys, the sooner you leave, yeah?
The point that I'm going to make to HMIC is that this is a force that gets on and delivers. You know, and don't think that we are not up for the challenge, because we are.
We've got a prisoner, one adult female, coming as part of this operation.
She says it's actually, she's got used them before, but I don't think
It looks okay, but if we split that to sectors, Sheffield West is getting hammered.
So there's some significant reductions around those other areas.
And as in relation to vehicle crime.
I think there's still a huge number of challenges there. Do I think that we're going to be able to demonstrate those, what's the phrase, clear green shoots? I think it's still on the edge, still on the edge.
I don't mind saying we were worried about how we would achieve the targets that were set to us. It's very difficult. We're not trying to sell X amount of clothing. We're not trying to sell so many cars in a month. So performance targets are very difficult sometimes in terms of actually reducing crime. I think sometimes what we need is to reduce that crime and bring it down. We just need more of us doing the same as what we're doing. You know, there's loads of people out today. If we had more cops, we could do this more often. If we had more finances, we could put the money towards these proactive patrols. We always have these things put to us about we need to do more for less. I think the reality is we all know, and I think the public know sometimes, the only thing you get for less is less.
For 3 months, South Yorkshire Police has put everything into improving the figures for car crime and burglary. They're still near the bottom of the National League tables, and they're still falling short of their targets. But nevertheless, Andy Holt's strategy to double those targets has paid off. It's done enough to persuade the government's inspectors they're on the right track.
The force presented itself very well. We were very pleased with the progress that's been made, and it's clear that the force and people around this table and others understand the challenge that you're facing, and have girded your loins, to use a typical HMIC expression, to meet that challenge.
Stuart uttered the challenge to me about the clear green shoots of performance, and I'm very pleased to see that actually that's precisely what we've got. We have the green shoots of performance that are most definitely coming through. Let's not get too complacent. The fight goes on, and the trajectory is now a far better trajectory than it was. But actually, you know, crimes per 1,000 population or per household in terms of burglary and car crime, you know, is still a challenge to us. And in comparison to others in our MSG and others, you know, up and down the country, you know, we still have much improvement to make.
With the threat of intervention over, the performance crime team get on with what they always do.
Police!
Give me a list then of what you think has been taken.
3 ladies' gold bracelets, they're mine.
They must now keep up the pressure to reduce the crime figures, but with ever decreasing funds. It won't be easy in the age of permanent austerity.
I think the government would like us to continue doing absolutely everything we're doing now, and more, with these budget cuts. We're just about managing it with a 20% cut. If they cut again, there is no way, and the public we would have to be quite honest with the public about what it is we can do and what we can't do, and I think they will be quite shocked at actually what we won't be able to do should we get cut anymore.
Tomorrow at 9, Revolutions in the Air, we continue our series about the history of Britain's shop girls. And then at 10, held over from tonight, The Culture Show looks at the role women played in the punk movement.